After that night, I stopped speaking about Baba Oro. I pretended like nothing happened, like everyone else in the village, but inside, I knew the truth. I knew that my uncle was still out there somewhere, trapped, and I knew Baba Oro was watching me. At first it was small things, a shadow where there should be none, the feeling of eyes on my back when I walked home from the river. My mother would call my name, but when I turned around, she wasn't there. I heard whispers in the wind, words I didn't understand. At night, my door would creak open, even though I knew I had locked it. Then, the dream started. Every night, I saw my uncle standing in the forest, staring at me. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then from behind him, a hand, long, thin, black as burned wood, would rest on his shoulder, fingers curling around him like claws. And then my uncle's face would twist, stretching into a scream, and I would wake up. I stopped sleeping. I stopped talking. My mother thought I was sick. She took me to the old women who knew herbs, but none of them could help. "It is not illness," one of them muttered under her breath. "It is something else." She looked over her shoulder as she spoke, like she was afraid someone would hear. I knew who she was afraid of. Baba Oro. One evening, as the sun was setting, I made up my mind. I could not live like this anymore. I had to do something. I would find my uncle. I waited until my mother was asleep. Then, I slipped out of the house and ran toward the forest. The trees were tall, their branches twisting against the sky like reaching hands. The air was thick, heavy, pressing down on me. The deeper I went, the colder it became. My breath came out in shaky clouds. Then I saw it, a clearing. In the middle, a large wooden pot, filled with something dark and bubbling. Skulls, clean and white, lined the edges of the clearing, staring at me with hollow eyes. And next to the pot, Baba Oro. He stood with his back to me, humming a low, strange song. His hands moved over the pot, stirring the thick liquid inside. Then he stopped. "I was wondering when you would come." His voice was deep, smooth, almost gentle. I couldn't move. He turned around slowly. His eyes glowed in the dim light. His mouth stretched into a grin that was too wide, too sharp. "You miss your uncle," he said. "I can bring him back to you." I wanted to scream, to run, but my feet were rooted to the ground. He reached into the pot. His fingers disappeared into the dark liquid. When he pulled them out, he was holding something, a face. My uncle's face. It was still moving, eyes blinking, mouth opening and closing like he was trying to speak. I gagged. Baba Oro laughed. "You don't understand, do you?" he said, shaking his head. "They are not gone. They are here, with me." He raised the face higher, and then, behind him, the shadows shifted. Figures stepped forward, one by one. Their bodies were twisted, broken, but their faces were familiar. The missing men, my uncle, all of them, their eyes were hollow, empty. "You cannot save them," Baba Oro whispered, "but you can join them." I don't know how I found the strength to move, but somehow I did. I turned and ran faster than I had ever run before. The trees blurred past me. I could hear footsteps behind me, heavy and slow, but I did not look back. When I reached the village, the sky was already turning light. My mother found me collapsed at the entrance of our hut, shaking, my clothes covered in dirt. I tried to speak, but no words came out. I never went back to the forest, but I still hear them. At night, when everything is quiet, I hear their whispers in the wind, calling my name. And sometimes I hear Baba Oro's voice too, laughing.